In South Florida, just north of the Everglades, a small fishing community was founded, Cape Coral, and Fort Myers. This place was like a paradise.
I think we need to do a little more all-weather testing.
Water just comes rushing in. There's a good chance it'll come spilling over this seawall and then up to the hotel possibly. It's going to be a very serious situation either way because the winds in this thing are really intense. This is a high-end category 4 hurricane. All right, any time now. Hopefully just a few minutes.
I think that being human means that we have more than just the capacity to exist. In some of the most beautiful cities in the world, the International Society of Arboriculture hosts their Florida Trees At this meeting, you will find some of the most renowned arborists in the world.
We can't plant a stump, but we can plant trees. Yeah, we need more trees.
Even the mayor of Cape Coral came down to show his appreciation for the attendance of the International Society of Arboriculture.
Trees purify the air we breathe, reduce pollution, and mitigate the effects of climate change. Habitats for wildlife and enhance biodiversity and connect us with nature. In Cape Coral, we have embarked on a mission to make our city greener, healthier, and more sustainable. We have implemented initiatives such as tree planting campaigns, promoting the use of native species, and encouraging responsible tree care practices throughout our city.
2 mature ponytail palms accent the sides of this driveway. Philodendron allowed to grow for more than 1 season. A one-of-a-kind codominant sable palm that's our state tree. I'll probably never see another. And scenery and climate so perfect that it draws millions of people every year to check this place out. 2 American icons in search for another suitable tree to produce rubber from planted this giant kapok tree.
Oh, hundreds of thousands of people a year. It's the most popular tourist destination in Southwest Florida.
That is a monster. If I had to put a moral to the story, I'd say the moral is preservation and persistence. Preservation is what kept this tree alive, and persistence is what puts new trees into place to replace the ones that don't make it.
Hurricane damage mangroves. Edison Ford winter estates. And you'll get to see why. It's just a beautiful garden and yes.
When Edison planted these ficus, banyan, sapote, citrus, avocados, lychees, and all these other trees here, he had no idea what it would look like when a man like me came back to look at it almost 100 years later. But persistence and preservation is what made that possible. Catastrophes will happen. That was the hurricane footage I showed you.
But what are the long-term impacts of leaving a multi-ton yacht in the mangroves? There's all kind of oils and fluids and stuff that come with a vessel that can be really bad over time. And this one was massive too, right? So it would have looked fairly pristine for a good amount of time. But our office worked heavily with the Department of Emergency Management since Ian hit, and we've had our staff members go out and when we're removing debris from mangroves, and debris is boats, docks, houses, all kinds of stuff. I worked on one off of on the south side of Fort Myers Beach where we had multiple vessels, hundreds of feet in the mangrove. So this, this massive yacht, right, is kind of right up on the edge because they're so big it couldn't go any further in. We have some that are, hundreds of feet into the mangroves, and they developed a system where instead of actually dredging, the mangrove island itself, they were actually just going to alter the mangroves and then put down airbags and kind of roll the vessels
That
out.
was a state forester talking, and the city arborist for Cape Coral was giving us some examples of the work they're doing to preserve different areas on public land. These are retention ponds that he and the community thought would be a great idea to restore habitat.
In the retention ponds and not being manicured. I don't do this for the guys that are visiting Sanibel. They're coming from Chicago. They spend $5 grand in a weekend. I don't care. This is for the residents, for the people that live here. Okay, and so if I don't do a good job of covering the berms and filling it in, they're going to come along and put concrete barriers in to block the traffic from the highway. This is where I get patches and pines. There's going to be a commercial building over there. If you can see that commercial building, I haven't done my job. Big, that had some. Up here on the left, you'll see a couple. The tops got snapped off.
And right here to the left, this was Burnt Bar. Gone. You know, and I still have 2 gift certificates for that place still. I think I'm hosed. Yeah, exactly. The bridge came through. The bridge is newer, and it came through in good condition. They were able to keep it functional pretty quick. But there was actually, where I mentioned Burt's Bar, there was actually a break in the causeway. So that was a flowing flowway totally across the road, took the road out. I mean, it took them about 10 days to actually get the road that you could drive slow across it, right? That they basically filled. It was like just an emergency thing, dumping material. I mean, hundreds of dump truck loads of material being dumped.
I've only seen this on the news. I'm blown away.
This is one of my favorite restaurants in Mount Lachey, right here on the left, Blue Dog. They serve fresh mullet that's just outstanding, and they just opened up about a month ago. And everybody was happy about that, you know, getting the Blue Dog back open, man. And if you know Leoma Lovegrove, the artist, she was the artist for our 2014 Trees Florida conference. The bright color. That's her art gallery. She's back open.
After spending 4 days in Cape Coral and getting to hear the stories from the locals, I really got a sense for just how catastrophic this storm was. This happened last hurricane season, and hurricane season's back. And while we got a good laugh about Burt's Bar having a few gift certificates there, it's still catastrophic to the locals. I mean, Bert was an actual person. In many aspects, this place will never be the same. I'm sure this was also an opportunity for some old infrastructure to be updated. I was really here just to learn about trees. Instead, every time for the last going on 15 years, I learned a little bit about each of the communities that make up my home state. And oddly, most of those stories involve trees. If you have questions about your trees, I highly recommend seeking out an ISA certified arborist. You can do this by going to treesaregood.com. Just how they talked about the sensitive mangrove ecosystem. Mangroves are like the kidneys, the lungs, the reproductive organs, and the feet of our state. Managing them requires careful due diligence. Mangroves provide excellent rookery for fish, as well as adding structure to the soil and helping to prevent erosion. It also provides excellent nesting sites for birds, can help with absorbing some pollution from the waterways. But more importantly, without mangroves, I think Florida would just wash away, especially in the face of a hurricane. Or perhaps they'll come up with some other solution instead of a natural one like concrete barriers instead of using trees. I think we should all try to get closer with nature that surrounds us and try to understand the ecosystems that make up our own location. Well, hey, I don't want to drag this out too far. If you have any comments, I'd love to hear them below. What are you doing in your place to make your home more nature friendly? We'll see you next time in the great outdoors.
There are more trees on Earth than stars in our galaxy. Can that be true? I'm not sure why that seems so marvelous. but it does. Stars bring light to the universe. Trees provide shade. Do we need more shade than light? But trees turn starlight into food and draw water up from deep in the soil and release it through their stomata and bring rain. And trees pull carbon from the air, cooling us down. Too much starlight. Stars and trees are bigger than we are and live longer, but we all die. We can't yet kill a star, but we can kill trees, and we do. We can't plant a star, but we can plant trees. Yeah, we need more trees.